Welcome in, everyone. Welcome back to Adventures in Business Live. This is Amani, and there's Mandy with her hands talking to us. Mandy,
Jazz hands.
yes, we're first going to start off the show by wishing you best of luck. We want the Cleveland Guardians to beat the New York Yankees in the
Thank you.
ALCS. So that's where we're
Thank
first
you.
going to start off the show. Are you going to be able to go to a game while you're back east?
Okay, so for anybody listening or watching, just we'll back it up for a second. I'm originally from Ohio. Most people watching, listening know that, but for those that don't, I am in my parents' spare bedroom upstairs in Cleveland, Ohio, right now. I have a super interesting backdrop that I don't normally use, and I am wearing a Cleveland Guardians sweatshirt. So, no, Amani, I will not go to a game while I'm here. It's all family all the time. We will be watching the game. In fact, tonight at 7:38 p.m., I will be watching with my dad and the mom in the family room. And then
Exciting.
we have a family wedding this weekend. And my gut instincts tell me that there will be TVs somewhere rolled out at the family wedding, which should happen in a sports town like Cleveland, and you make the playoffs. That should happen. So
Yes.
that's what will happen over here.
All right. So
What
you're back
is
east. Go
happening
ahead.
with you, Amani? We got to talk about IMAX. We just had IMAX.
We
We had a
did.
big weekend. Like, what's going on in your world?
We had IMAX, so I spoke twice at IMAX, which was great. Manny was there in the audience for one of them. I saw Manny speak two times, right? Two times, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I saw you speak twice. So we were busy last week. IMAX was very
Hmm.
overwhelming. So many displays, so many exhibits, and my feet were still hurting. And it's like 4 days later. But we had a great week, very productive, great experience. After that, my weekend was pretty chill, right? What did I do? I can't even remember what I did, but it was pretty chill.
Yeah.
And then this
How do you
week,
recover from that?
oh,
Like, because I'm so curious. Re-entry is difficult, right? We all re-entered into the workplace again today. How do you recover from interacting with 15,000 people on a super loud trade show floor? What are your tactics?
usually I like to just take some time to be kind of by myself and just kind of recharge the battery, but I didn't really have much time to do that because I forget I went to like a birthday party this weekend, and then I had training on Friday. And so yeah, it was just I watched a little football, but I was so sleepy. So I'm still trying to recover, is what I'm saying. I didn't get enough rest. So yeah, that's
Mm.
what I do. What do you do?
Well, normally I just sit in a dark room and stare at the wall. I
Oh,
I
okay.
have got to just like debrief, but I wasn't able to do that because I went from Las Vegas to Ann Arbor, spent some time with my little sister, and it was amazing. Also, it was beautiful. The colors are beautiful.
All right.
And then I went from Ann Arbor to Toledo, Ohio, where I spent time with my best girlfriends here in Ohio, and it was two of their 50th birthday parties. So
Mm.
we just giggled like girls do, or like boys do, just giggled like
Boys
old
don't giggle.
pals
Yeah,
do.
boys don't
Yes,
giggle, but
thank you.
yes.
Amani, you're gonna giggle. You're gonna
No,
giggle on this episode. I'm
yeah,
gonna
no
prove you
giggling.
wrong.
They'll take my
Yeah,
man
anyways.
card.
So anyways, we giggled and now I've just been relaxing at mom and dad. So I'll get a bunch of that in this week. Yeah, I'll catch
Okay.
up. I'll catch up
All
with the
right.
reentry.
All right. Keep us posted. Now,
Yeah.
for our guest today, I'm so excited because we have someone who's done many of the jobs that we've done, particularly being general manager of a hotel and
Yeah.
grown up in the industry. So it's super exciting to just have this person. You might be wondering how I met her. I'm going to put her on the screen right now. So hold on. We're going to have, there's Christine Malfair. So welcome to the show here. And I'm going to give you a round of applause. Where's my little button? I have a special button that the round of applause at the bottom of the screen is
Hi, Christine. Welcome to the
Thank
show. Good to
you.
see you.
Thanks so much, Mandy and Amani. It's great to be here and joining you today.
Yes, yes. So we're excited to have you. For those you know, I met Christine. We are both members of Brand Builders Group, and so we got to connect first in April at the Accelerator event back in April, and then we keep in touch and talk frequently. And Christine does some great work with hotels and all the things. But my first question, though, is can you share with us two things you miss about being a general manager and two things you don't miss about being a general manager of a hotel?
Ooh, uh, yeah, one for sure. Two things that I do miss is obviously like people face-to-face interactions after leaving the manager's chair and starting Malfair Marketing back in 2010 before, the work from home thing was really a thing. I would say it's kind of answers the first and the second. There were times when I didn't love my office being referred to as the train station, where it was
Mm.
constant people in and out coming for answers, sort of getting a ticket and moving on type thing. But, I actually missed that because it was very energizing. Yeah, you're kind of tired at the end of the day, but it was also very energizing to see everybody and be with people face to face. The other thing that I miss about it is, of course, the guests and really thinking about how can we like up our game, and I do think about that in marketing, and I don't think that I'll ever take that hat off. Like,
Mhm.
because I'm still, when I'm working with hotels, we're still talking about guest experience. It's like, well, marketing doesn't really end because there's a thread or a through line of marketing. You make a promise and you have to see that promise through, and how well are we doing there? So, and then the other thing that I actually don't miss, and there'll be some GMs or anybody in the industry that had to do hiring, and it was just finding the right people and really service centered people to get in the right seats on the bus, so to speak. And change and turnover. I worked in a seasonal property, so we had a lot of turnover. Like for ski season, we had a new group of avid ski team members come in from Australia and all over the world that wanted to come to this area to ski. And then in the summer, it's like, well, they want to come to hike. And it was those shoulder seasons where I remember making beds and pulling,
Oh, yes.
yeah, emptying garbages, and that's just part of it all.
That is part of it all. Now, if I usually will introduce and share what you do, but I find what you do very unique. So if you were to describe what you currently do to our audience, what's like the 30 or 60-second description? The elevator pitch, as they say.
The elevator pitch. Well, having been a hotel manager before, my mission is to really save hotel managers and marketing managers, marketing, like just generally in the hotel, save time and money by delivering hotel marketing solutions. So whether that be working with the teams or taking it right off their desks. So actually coming in as a marketing CMO or as a full scale contractor.
Got it. Okay. Now, Mandy, I'll turn it to you because you usually like to go to the Wayback Machine, and we'll continue from there.
I'm going there. Christine, would you like to go to the Wayback Machine with me?
Yes, I would. Sounds like a fun time.
It's a good time. I just want to go way back, just back to 2010. So it's only 14 years ago. It's not that far back.
Yeah.
But you had somebody that suggested that you
Mhm.
start your own business. And I think so many of us that are entrepreneurs, we've got this like inkling of like, I want to do this. I think I can do this, but I'm not sure. But there is so much power and somebody seeing in you what you already know to be true about yourself. You're just kind of afraid to take that nudge. So, who was that colleague that suggested you start your own business? And what did he or she say to you that nudged you to catapult you to the success you are today?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And it's one that I'm so grateful for because June kind of comes around every year, and that's when that conversation happens. So I have a little moment there where I remember that. And it was actually, he was the owner, president of a property management company. And he had several hotels in their portfolio. And I was the general manager at one of those hotels. And he said, like, I had been single for a number of years and working a lot as a GM. And on my days off, I like to golf and hike. So, I wasn't really like totally into dating. And then I met somebody and I needed to leave the GM seat and was going to move towns. And he said, we'd really like you to stay on with the hotel. And I said, well, how does that work? And he said, well, you were actually doing marketing then, and you could do it from wherever you are. I know you could. You're a disciplined person. So he saw this quality characteristic, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yes, to your point, you're like, this is new, and this work from home thing. And it was just such a brain scramble. It was like, what does that all look like? But then it was like, yes, actually, if there's people like me, that was, at the time, digital marketing was just on a swell. It wasn't what it is today, but we were still in combination of what I call the classic marketing pieces and the digital marketing pieces. And I had been doing all of that for the hotel. And so I thought, how can I do this somewhere else? And I thought, well, it's pretty easy. I just take a computer and change desks, was more or less. So his message was really, you could do it here, but you could also do it for a couple of my other properties too. And he said, because their GMs are in the same boat that you were in. And I thought, wow, okay. Yeah, like I could really help them because I was them just like a month ago. So, yeah.
How did that inform you? So you go from one side of the business to the other side. And I relate to this, right? I was on the hotel side for years and now I'm on the client side. How was that transition for you going from the decision maker about marketing to pitching the marketing? And what were some speed bumps that you had at the very beginning that you might want to share with people to save a little time for them?
Yeah. Mostly around systems, like personal systems. I created, my own personal system or way of working, before all the advancements of recent technology that support systems now. But back then, I remember a lot of it was on paper and pen, and it was committing to, it sounds funny, but when you go from a GM seat to all of a sudden work from home, everybody's like, yeah, that's so great. You get to work in your pajamas. And I remember one of my first rules in transitioning out of that role was hair, makeup, get dressed. Like as if your client is going to knock on the door, like, and you've got to answer the door. So you still have that, GM's train station. You're still ready for it, but yeah, nobody's coming to knock, but you're still prepared. And I think that influences the work that you do too.
Yeah, it makes you sit up a little straighter, makes you speak a little better, right? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Gotta say hello to Mercedes Montijo. Hope I said your name right in the audience.
Hi, Mercedes.
What's a typical day like for you now? Like, what would be a typical day, and how do you kind of stay organized with so many clients?
Yeah. A few years ago, I hired a team member. It started out at 6 hours a week. So I was like, okay, we're going to, do a lot of the maintenance style pieces of marketing that I was doing. And so she started there and then quickly moved through. And she is very systems oriented. And that was what attracted, me to her, was like, oh yeah, she's on the systems piece. That's what we need most of all, in creating systems, adhering to systems, and the plan overall. And then it moved up from 6 to 12 to 14. And now she's working with me 30 hours a week. My day is now I'm like building my business more so in a consulting role. So working on different products and services to help hotels in that way. And she's more so in client delivery or fulfillment of different pieces.
And can you share with us an example of maybe some of the newer products that you're kind of launching or implementing for different hotel clients?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this because I sat back and I said, what would be the most helpful thing that I needed when I was in the chair trying to do marketing and ops and owners and everything else,
Yeah.
right? And it was really like every year I produced a marketing plan, but I felt like now that I was out of all of those other things, the one piece that was missing was the deep measurement of the, performance. And so I've created a revenue roadmap that I work with clients in it's very short period. So they submit a questionnaire, we get into the back end of the analytics, and then we do what I call the cash scorecard. And the cash scorecard is 255 points that you go through of all the different digital marketing pieces. and we categorize them. And the CASH is an acronym that stands for we continue, we adjust, we start, or we halt. So it's like, what is in the halt? Like, no more. Start, that might get, assessment in terms of priority. There's the low hanging fruit in the adjust. It's like, we're doing great here. We could do a little bit better. And then the continue pieces again is like, what do we need to keep doing? And lay eyes on that, just so that we understand, we kind of thought that was working, but now we know it is, because we can actually see in the assessment that it is doing what it's supposed to do to drive revenue. And then from there, they get the scorecard, and it's all prioritized into now, next, later. So it's quick, because I know marketing departments, they can get pulled in different directions to do different things in the hotel. And they come back to their desk and they're going, where was I? Right? It's like picking up a book that doesn't have a bookmark. You're going, where was I? You're flipping through pages and you're spending time trying to find where you were to gain back that momentum. And so it's really about putting a resource in their hands to help them then advance the cause of driving mostly direct bookings. I do work a lot with OTA optimization as well.
Interesting.
I love this. Did you say now, next, never? What was the third N in that?
Later. Now, next, later.
NNL, now, next, later. I like that. It's quick. That's it. That's something easy to remember. I love that.
Yeah.
I think I have a two-part question. I want to look at the same question from two lenses. So when it comes to marketing a hotel, what are people not doing enough of? What is something that you see that is that red flag or that pink flag or whatever color flag you want, and you say, okay, here's what most people are not doing enough of as a hotel when they're thinking about their marketing?
Yeah. Those people who know me are going to know this answer. I talk a lot about the OTAs because the structure of how the OTA commissions are handled doesn't allow a lot of marketing and sales teams and operations to lay eyes, or revenue management to lay eyes on exactly what the cost is. So a few weeks back, I think I posted on LinkedIn that, Travel Boom had done this study, and it was like the average hotel that they had data on was paying the range of $380,000 a year. Now, when we think of a marketing budget, and my LinkedIn post was like, hello, owner, I would like an $829,000 marketing budget. Now we know that, that's not realistic, of course. And, do we really need that? No, but that is actually, if we were to look at acquisition cost holistically, that is acquisition cost. In my opinion, OTA commissions are cost of acquisition, but they are dealt with differently. So they don't show on the books in that way. They don't get the attention. They're just really handled as a cost of goods sold.
So we know what OTA is, and you know what OTA is, but for the people out there listening that might not OTAs, can you explain what that is? And then I'll go to ask the question from the other lens.
No, this is so good, because is there any bigger industry that has more acronyms than the hospitality industry?
I think all industries have crazy acronyms, but I think hospitality's we've got a lot.
Yes.
We've got a lot.
Yes.
We have a lot. Yeah. Maybe pharma is ahead of us. I don't know. OTAs, those are online travel agencies like Expedia and Booking.com, where they're charging 25%, like anywhere between 12 for large brand properties to 25% for independent hotels. So the independent hotels are on $100, they're paying $25 to Expedia or Booking.com.
And
okay, so
ask your second question, then I have a follow-up. Ask your second question, then I have a follow-up.
Okay. Yeah. And then with that, so before I ask my second question, with that OTA, just for the audience, just as an example, so everybody knows that I book large conventions and meetings for HPN Global, and a meetings commission is anywhere from 7 to like 13%, where I'm a human being actually negotiating food and beverage, audiovisual, room rental, room rate. I'm actually doing all this work. And as a human, we're getting paid less of a commission than some of the OTAs, which is online booking
Mm,
channels that are actually driven by a human being that's buying it. So they're buying it, they're paying it, and the hotel's also paying it too. There's not, I'm all about people making money however they want to make it, but I
mhm,
just want to put in perspective for the audience that,
mhm,
you know, I'm my guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, a hotel would probably feel not bad at all about paying commission to a third party agency, bringing a group in, knowing all the work they're doing, then
mhm,
cringe a little bit about paying double that commission there's not as much work being done. Now that's important. The OTA distribution channel is very important,
mhm.
but that scale of commission, I think there could be a conversation out there. Am I right, or is that
Oh, I
not
would
something?
totally agree with you in terms of,
Yeah,
especially from, the guest, like what it's actually, well, this firsthand better than I do, but I would only assume that the hoteliers on the receiving end of the groups that you bring are better informed, have better, like more manageable expectations because you've set them up well. There is a relationship that's been established opposed to transactional. All those things are like a higher value. So I see that it would be disproportionate there for sure.
yeah, you see it all. So, but question for the other side of this is people that are marketing to hotels, not hotels,
Mhm,
but I think you probably can wear both hats, like especially as being an old general manager,
mhm.
people that are marketing to hotels for whatever widget product service they're selling, what are they not doing? What are they missing out on and how they communicate and interact with hotels, or how can they better market to hotels?
Yeah, I experienced this one myself. It's such a good
Mm,
question, and I'm seeing like, I'm making good connections recently with different vendors, and I think that's what you're referencing, Mandy, is people who need to sell to hotels. Is that, yeah. So
yeah.
um the a real partnership, sort of, taking a posture of partnership, I think is so important because from there, when you understand, when you have a bit of a, again, partner of posture, or posture of partnership, you're going to listen and you're going to ask questions. And it's like sales 101, like talk less, listen more. And I've been in these, vendor scenarios because part of my job is to reduce risk for my clients. So I gather all this information and I do different demos on different pieces of software as it relates to marketing to reduce that risk. And some of them just come in blazing, talk, 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 talk. And then what do you think? That's their first question. And so I think, there's definitely well, let's step back, ask me what I like, and
Mhm.
then, let's start there. What do you actually need? And then help the client or help the hotelier understand what they don't know, maybe some areas that they haven't thought of for your product or your service, and just work from a relational standpoint on that.
I love that. Ask the question, what do you not know that you want to know? Just
Mhm,
and
Yeah.
then zip it and let them answer. That's really powerful. Thank you.
mhm.
If we go back to the OTA example that you were sharing, what would be the solution you would recommend? Like instead of a hotel paying, 25% independent hotel, 24% to the OTA, what's a solution that you might recommend?
I think that there's quite a few different things. The first one, above all, is like just lay eyes on your scenario right now. Like write it down. This is where you were, and set a goal. So I have a free resource on my website. It's called the revenue, like reclaim your revenue blueprint. In that it has a cash calculator, so you can put in your different revenue volumes per market segment in your hotel, and it will tell you how much you could peel back, like 10% of your rooms from the OTAs equals this much money to your bottom line. It's a very quick way to calculate it. So I think that's step one. Step two is some obvious ones, like um, if you've got suites available, and there may be a category of one, or maybe you only have like 10 of them or whatever it might be, but you can really keep that for your repeat guests. They feel like, oh, I love these suites. This is where I'm always going to stay. Don't sell those on the third parties. Like, I think there's a lot of things, pet friendly suites as well, or, there's so much demand for pet friendly. Why would you need to sell those on an OTA? It's things like that. Look where your demand, maybe in room category, of course, time of year, that's revenue management 101 based on, supply and demand. Yeah. And then another one is like, just do your best to get your repeat guests, because that's where the money is, right?
Yeah.
That's where you don't have to pay acquisition costs. So if you have an OTA guest coming in once, that's okay. They get introduced to your property, but it's when you pay that OTA over and over and over for the same guest that I think hoteliers could probably lean in a little bit more and find that. And the data is getting good, and there's lots of good software out there that's helping get data into the CRMs. And
right now, if you were to go back, I'm going to ask this question twice. I'm asking it once now and once later. But if you were to go back to 2010 and say you were relaunching your business, what would you do differently? How would you approach it differently?
Oh, that's such a good question. What would I do differently? Well, I think at the time I really, to be honest, I didn't really I didn't really know exactly what to charge. There wasn't a lot of, people doing what I was doing out there. So there wasn't a lot of, I couldn't look left or right or find. It wasn't as easy as it is now, I think. To find that would be one. And the second one is like, just document, write down what I do. Like, that's really one of the stages I'm in right now is, yes, we have the systems, but it's getting all the playbooks and everything how we do what we do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What have you learned, and what advice can you give our audience about pricing and kind of sticking to your worth that you've learned over the past 14 and a half years?
Oh, we're in the deep end now.
That's where we go. Let's go.
I think I always looked at it kind of as from a GM's, like, it's really hard to shed, a little bit of your former mindset, right? And one of the things that I look at the pricing and I say, how many rooms would this be? Like, because that's how a GM thinks, right? That's how I used to think. I used to look at it and say, how many room nights do I have to, like, where's my ROI? How long is my return, right? When am I going to see this? And, we know a lot about speed and return, and we want to be there. And I think that when you have a really, really good product and service and you're in demand, then your return rate is great. So you should have great prices you should have prices that work for the guest or for the client, that they can get their return rate quickly. The value's there for them, but it's also there for you to be in partnership with them.
Okay. Interesting.
I love that about pricing, because I think so many times entrepreneurs that are going from the corporate world to on their own world think, how do I price this? How much money do I want to make? What is my time worth? But that only serves one part of it, right? And the most important part are the customers. So if you look at it from the lens of, how does this serve the customer? What is this worth to the customer? That's how much I'm going to charge. I love, that's a real flipped way to look at it. And I think it's the right way, especially in the hospitality business. I love that. That's a really, really good nugget. I have a flash fire thing I want to do with you, but first I want to just triple check. So when you are doing hotel marketing for somebody, are you doing the business transient? You're advising on business transient, leisure, catering, food and beverage group. Are you advising on all of the marketing streams, all the revenue streams, or are there any revenue streams you're not advising on?
Great. I am pretty much all in on leisure.
Okay.
And I think that there's obviously some crossover into, like, the website touches all segments. email marketing can touch all segments, social as well. But in terms of the areas where I like to go deeper in terms of guest experience or delivery or sort of putting together offers for hotels, it would be in the leisure category. That's a great question.
Okay. I'm gonna hang there, but I'm gonna ask a couple more questions. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. But
Okay.
flash fire. So for the audience, for the hotel operator that's out there listening and they want to elevate their hotel marketing, what is one thing they can do better in each segment? So we'll start with leisure, but I'm gonna go to all of them. One thing off the top of your head they think they can do better.
Gosh, it's hard because I'm going to say the same for all of them. And I'm going to, in leisure, one thing that they could do better, I think, take notice of how your guests use your spaces. Because I think that there's opportunities in every single space to not only surprise and delight, but to also earn, like, to have a little increase the guest spend during their stay. There's some great
I love that.
opportunities for poolside. I wrote in a newsletter a while ago, like a popsicle cart showing up poolside. That's a winner for everybody. There's things that you can do in your lobby to help people at the time that they're there, different times of day. I think it's just taking notice of really what your guests are doing and maybe where friction is showing up in different spaces.
Very wise. Go ahead.
So you kind of hit it because I was going to go group food and beverage BT, but you just hit everything. What is a story about? Because you talked earlier about the best way to get more customers is just to take care of your existing customers, whether that's upgrading them to a suite or really paying attention to their needs. Can you think of a story where a hotel nailed it and they are just doing a great job? You don't have to name the hotel, but they're doing just a great job at just keeping repeat customers over and over again. Give an example.
Yeah. I work with it's a seasonal property. So they always want, they want to be the choice. And the goal with that property is really to be a category of one. And they're in a destination. So they do have competitors and they're a resort. So there are other resorts around there. We're working on being a category of one. And that comes with differentiation. And one thing that they do really well is when people are leaving, they have an exchange either in person, via text, or an email. And it goes beyond just, hey, do you want to book again? So it really is, there's somebody who's been managing this. And I think that there's technology out there that's going to help automate this, which will be great for them, and design it in a way that sort of mirrors what that human experience has been, but really getting personal on that re-invite has been one of the pieces. And then I just remember this really funny story of somebody saying, like, they put in they got a pre-arrival email and they said, is there anything that we could do to, in advance of your stay? Pretty common question, right? And we don't often see responses to that. Like, a lot of people are like, no, we'll just know when we get there and we'll just go to the front desk. But this one guest said, yeah, it would be great if I could go on vacation with The Rock. And that was like, yeah, okay, The Rock. And so we thought, well, this is fun. What can we do? And I remember sharing, like, so we put a picture of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, in a frame on the bedside table. So, I mean, we couldn't get The Rock quite, but we still they
came close.
And they just thought that was hilarious. And I know that there's lots of stories, and it's not one that you can do for everybody, but it's just trying to find those times when you can really do something amazing like that.
Yeah.
And of course,
I love that.
social and
they tag the hotel, I bet. And I think, like, no, we all get those pre-arrival emails and we don't give the hotel enough opportunities to surprise and delight. Just give a challenge. If it's met, cool. And if it's not, that's okay. But as a hotel goer, give the hotel an opportunity to create a memorable experience. So just reply to that email, reply to that pre-arrival email.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a good point. We don't.
Yeah. Shout out to William Roberts tuning in. Thank you for your comment there. Appreciate it on the Facebook. Now we've come to the time of the show where we want to flip the script. So we're going to let you ask both myself and Mandy any question you like. Nothing is out of bounds. So who would you like to ask a question to first?
Well, I'm going to ask a question to Mandy because we're just
right.
sort of like, in terms of events and experiences, and particularly in food and beverage, because it's not something I'm in often, but I am like, what is I guess the most, how do you meet expectation or exceed expectations in food and beverage as an event planner? Like,
Yeah, I mean, from a hotel standpoint, a venue standpoint, it's not that hard. It really is not that hard. It is, if there's any dietary restrictions at all, which now there are so many, right? Gluten-free,
yeah.
dairy-free, there's all these allergies. If there's anything like that, guide the customer. Don't We're guiding so many of our hotels and venues on what to do. And I always feel like it should be the other way around. I shouldn't be guiding them. I am, because I want my guests to have a good experience. But wow, what a relief it is when the hotel or venue actually has a system in place for it. So get your systems in place, ask the right questions, and guide somebody through that. So whether that's a question in the planning process, whether that's a 3 day prior to arrival question, whether that's at the resume meeting when, or the pre-con, when they're saying, okay, 60% of your group has lactose intolerance issues,
Mhm.
here's what we're serving, whatever that is, make sure the signs are right, make sure your staff knows what the alternative food options are. I cannot tell you how many times I've been to an event and I try and be gluten-free, dairy-free, and I'll be like, well, what is that? And nobody knows what, no banquet staff person knows what it is. The person that created the menu knows it, the chef knows it, but the average person, the heart of the event that are running the event, they don't know it. The people busing don't know it. And you've got to imagine, as an attendee, you're going to stop the first person you see in uniform. It's not always the chef. The chef's in the back cooking food. So I think communicating that along the way, it really isn't that hard to do. Just, make sure you have systems in place, make sure everything is communicated, make sure the signage is right. And that's just for dietary restrictions. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about,
Yeah.
like, don't give the vegetarians like this vegetable Napoleon. Be more creative. And I will say, I was talking to a consultant, a hotel consultant, a couple months ago, and he's like, "Mandy, can you look at the P&L for the food and beverage for one of my clients? Is there a reason why beverage might be down?" And I was like, "Yeah, because people under 30, they're not consuming alcohol as much, and your biggest profit margin is on alcohol. But if you bump up your mocktail program, you're going to see that beverage line go up a little bit more. You're just out of tune with your guests." So I think, like, just like you had said earlier, be in tune with your repeat guests, but be in tune with those new guests. Maybe survey them. Like, what didn't we have that you would have liked to have? I was just, the last couple conferences I went to, I wasn't drinking at them, and the mocktail program stunk. And so I was drinking club soda the whole time, which is fine. But what a difference. I would have paid $15 if there was like a delicious mocktail that they serve at Malibu Farms. And that's a whole other revenue stream that I don't think hotels or venues are thinking about right now. So it doesn't take much. It just takes being in tune and then
So
really
true.
communicating internally and externally.
So true. It
Yeah.
doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to Amadou. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but I'm going to say Amadou D for commenting in LinkedIn. Appreciate you. Back to you, Christine.
Yeah. So, Amani, in your sales, in your sales career,
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to, I've always, I've listened to quite a few and read some books about the new marketing and sales, and going back to thinking about hotels, do you think that there's a sort of, like, what's your philosophy in terms of where marketing starts and ends and sales begins?
Oh.
It's a good question.
Well, let's see here. I think marketing and sales start at the beginning and it never ends. I think you're always selling and you're always marketing, because
Good.
whether or not it's
Yeah.
a current guest or it's a potential guest or it's a past guest, whether you're in sales and you're selling to a client that you want to get them to repeat their booking, or you're selling to future clients. Like, I don't think sales or marketing, especially this day and age where there's so much noise, I don't think it ever ends. I think it's an ongoing process and there's always things that are happening that you should be doing. So I think that's like a never ending proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you. Interesting question. You have a follow up? Go ahead.
No, I
No.
don't. I share your answer. Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think there's like this sort of handoff of the baton like there used to be. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
No
it's
more.
it's so fluid.
Agreed. Agreed.
Well,
Hello to Sarah in the chat also. Thank you for commenting on the LinkedIn. Um,
Hi, Sarah. I have a question about your superpowers. I think we all have things that we're really good at, and sometimes we don't know what that is till somebody tells us, and then we're like, "Oh yeah, that's my thing. That's my thing. I do better than anybody else." So, what's your thing? What do you consider your superpower? What's something that you know more about than most people in a room?
oh, the thing I know more about. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know if this is a superpower. Definitely a characteristic that has served me in my entire life
Mhm.
has been discipline. I am,
Mm.
yeah, it's not a fun word, but it,
It's
but like
important.
nobody wants to hear that. They're like, oh, discipline. But I remember like being a little kid and twirling my baton, and it was up every morning, and it was like, I'm going
Mm.
to do this thing. And I did it on roller skates someday to make it more fun, but it was I would say it's discipline, and then also just really trying to, like, it goes back to empathy. I think people who are able to, like, marketing and sales in particular really in my opinion requires a lot of empathy. It's the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and perceive how they're experiencing things, you know? So,
okay. What's
Empathy
your
and
super
discipline are two good things. They're two good things to just
what's
master. Yeah.
what's your superpower, Mandy? One thing you know in a room that no one else would know.
Depends
yeah.
on the room. I mean, it
Well,
depends on
let's
the room and the circle. I think sales is my superpower.
okay.
I would
I would
say I
agree.
know more than most people about sales. As a Cleveland sports fan, I know a lot about being a good sport at losing. I know
Oh,
adversity. I know adversity.
let's manifest some positive feelings as the Guardians
Yeah.
go into their series. Let's not think about losing.
What about
Um,
you, Amani? What's your superpower?
yeah. What's your superpower?
ooh, R&B groups.
Yeah, you do. You know
Yeah.
it. I agree.
Amani knows
Yeah.
R&B groups.
Yes, yes, that would be my superpower.
Nice.
Now,
Nice.
great question. What Now we're gonna ask the second part of the previous question I asked you. If we could go back and let's see, like I'm gonna think back. So we're gonna go back to when did you call it college or university? When you were at Georgian College.
Yes.
Okay. And you were graduating. So you're just a recent graduate from Georgian College, and you're gonna give Christine advice based on everything you learned so far in life, professional and personal. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh. Um, oh, trust yourself. Just
Mm,
trust yourself.
okay.
Yeah.
All
Sometimes
right.
we like let doubt creep in a little bit.
Yes.
And I took a lot of chances. Like after I graduated, I took off to cruise ships and did some work there. And then, I was bouncing around. But sometimes, especially in this entrepreneurial journey, you really
Yeah.
have to trust yourself.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mandy, I'm gonna let you kind of close us out with your final question. So talk to us.
I want to know what podcasts and books you listen to and you read. I feel like you are an avid podcast listener, book reader, and I'm looking for suggestions. So what are you listening to? What are you reading?
Oh, I am reading a book called The 3 Minute Rule, and you would, I think, love it because it is about sales. And
Mm,
this sales has been a new journey for me.
mhm.
So it's about crafting a pitch. And I know that there's lots of books out there around that, but this is from written, I forgot his name now, but he pitches like top rated television shows. Like he is Mark Burnett, like the next, and he just goes into ABC, pitches shows, and he says the most effective ones are 3 minutes and how to put those pieces together. It's a fantastic book.
Ooh, I love that.
The
Don't you
3
think whether you're in sales or you are a janitor or whether you fix elevators or you are a CEO, don't you think perfecting your pitch, whatever it is something we all need? I mean, when do you not need a pitch for something, personal or professional?
I agree. And I didn't really realize it until recently, until I started, scratching the surface on all of these things. So yes, it is very, very important to be
Have you
clear.
perfected it? Have you perfected your pitch? Are you like,
No,
"I'm gonna try"?
once I read this book, I'm like, I'm going to get a stack. He goes through a process of creating value statements. And I've got a stack of sticky notes set aside for this activity. I can't wait, actually.
I love it.
Love it.
If you ever want to try it out, you let me know.
Okay, I will do that.
I love like wordplay with people, role play, like just lifting each other up, right? We're in the same business, we're in the same industry, and you
Yeah.
want to practice on friends. So when you actually can do it on somebody that really matters, you've already screwed up a bunch on your friends. So if you ever need to screw up a pitch or two, let me know. I'm always happy to listen and happy to hear.
I am going to
Yes.
do that, Mandy, for sure.
The
Yeah.
3-minute rule by Brent Pinvidich. How do you say his last name?
Yes.
Pinvidich. Pinvidic. Pinvidich. I think it's how you say it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Very good.
Cool. All right. Well, we want to say first, thank you for taking time to spend with us and sharing about yourself, your journey, and your business. We have your website going on the ticker. People can follow you there and get more information and connect with you on LinkedIn. And it's just been great to learn more about what you do and the inner workings of hotel marketing, particularly with OTAs and some of the other leisure aspects. And just thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you. This has been so much fun.
Yes,
Thanks for
awesome. So
being
we're
with
going to
us.
do,
It's fast, get fast.
yes. Round of applause here. We'll put you in the green room really quickly. So round of applause.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.